bring 1 or 2 guys, maybe even 3 to my house, and we'll grill out, we'll barbecue, and we'll just say, okay, look, let's just sit around, talk a little bit of football, talk a little bit about life. Because football is so much bigger than football. To me, it's a game of life. It's a game of understanding how to handle adversity. It's a game of being able to make decisions that are based off of something that are bigger than you.
Absolutely.
Get quiet. Go on and get crunk. Head back to Longview, Kelly popping trunk. I ain't even tripping. Riding and I'm sipping. Let me come through 4-4 steady tipping. On that new lap. Watch the trunk crack. Let me sit sideways, CB running back. Maybe AP, maybe AD. I ain't even tripping cause we some athletes. Messing with Smitty in the summertime. He get pissed if we don't make our time. But we gon' get it cause we gotta finish. Nebraska Horn Hustlers, man, we diminished. Put them boys little, paint like a skittle. I ain't even tripping, I ain't never double dribble. Cause I'm a player from the Himalaya. Let me sit sideways, man. Maybe back door, maybe fall off. Sipping codeine cause I gotta kill a cough. Let me sit sideways in the big Benz. Oh, you boys, they my brothers, they my friends.
All right, welcome to Fullback U. This is going to be a very easy podcast. Not only do I have 2 legends with me, 2 amazing football players, amazing football minds, also great media voices. So excited to have my brother PJ Mills in. PJ, how you feeling?
I'm doing well. Always happy to get a chance to come on here and talk. The podcast, all of them I've seen have been incredible, man.
Thank you, man.
You got something building. It's gonna blow.
I'm trying.
It's gonna blow.
Well, this is part 2 with you, but this is part 1 with my man Anthony Fogel. Coach, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm just impressed by the walls and everything out there, the jewelry, got the rings.
You guys helped build it, man. There were so many people. Me and PJ talked about it in the 90s. I'm sure you're going to laugh when I say this name, but Mike Gaddis was a very influential figure to me. Looked up to him and just, You can talk about that. PJ, if you want to elaborate. Last time you told people you were moving into Oklahoma. How's the move been? Just let us know.
It's good to be back, and get a chance to get on the air from time to time, get a chance to come to the podcast with you this second time. I appreciate it. And just being around, being in Oklahoma, seeing my mom, my brother, my daughter's here. So it's wonderful.
Folk, you did great work at a lot of places. Just finished up in Northeast. Did wonderful work there. Got a new gig, if you don't mind telling people where you at.
Yeah, I'll be at Seaworth Academy, a school that, has basically been a charter school. So now I get a chance to go in there and try to help these guys, get their education right, back on track, doing the things that they need to do to be able to go back to their home school. But at the same time, some of those guys still graduate out of Seaworth. So my big goal is to try to get as many guys as I can get into college as possible, whether it be JUCO, Division III, Division II, Division I, NAIA. It doesn't even matter. We're just trying to make sure that we give kids the opportunities that we all had sitting at this table right now to be able to further your education and at least get some, if not all, of your school paid for.
Doing God's work, brother. And like PJ says, each one teach one.
Each one teach one. I wanted to add to that, and it's going to include both of you. When I look at coaching, all coaches are important. But if I had to pick between pro, college, and high school, which one is more necessary, I would say high school coaches. Because there are so many things, whether you have a good family background and you're influenced when you get outside of your house with the neighborhood or the crowd you fall into, whether you unfortunately don't have either parents or parents that are focused on your well-being, however it goes. When you get to college, it's your fault if you don't take advantage of it. When you get to the pros and you're listen, even if you get one check for $500,000, that starts your life off right. You're not going to be able to live off of it for the rest of your life, but it starts your life off in a good way. High school is it can go one way or another.
Yeah.
It just, a lot of times it depends on what parents, big brothers, big sisters, church, neighborhoods.
It takes a village.
It takes a village. So I think that the high school coach is the most important coach, not demeaning college or pro, but guys can get lost in high school. It's a little harder in college.
I said God's work, Fogel. I'm sure you can explain, but not everybody comes from a wealthy background, and when it doesn't happen, when there's not that support there, you're a father to a lot of guys. Some guys I know call you for things that aren't a coaching deal. So if you can expand on that.
Well, I've had guys into my home. One of the things that I try to do is bring some of my players to my house to see something different than they see on a normal basis. On the average, you're dealing with certain kids that may only get the 2 meals for breakfast and lunch that are in that building. Some of these kids have never seen a house. They've seen apartments. So me being the person I am, my coach did this with me. He took me up to Humble, Texas, and he showed me what a house looked like, because I grew up in apartment complexes. That's all I knew is 2-bedroom, 2-bath if you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Yeah. And by me going and seeing that and seeing, okay, you got a backyard, you got, a big kitchen, you got a master bedroom, another bathroom here, another bedroom. Right, you got your own bedroom. It motivated me to say, one day this is what I want. So a lot of times I'll bring 1 or 2 guys, maybe even 3 to my house, and we'll grill out, we'll barbecue, and we'll just say, okay, look, let's just sit around, talk a little bit of football, talk a little about life. Because football is so much bigger than football. To me, it's a game of life. It's a game of understanding how to handle adversity. It's a game of being able to make decisions that are based off of something that are bigger than you.
Absolutely.
So,
PJ, since the last time we talked, the NFL draft, we'll come back to OU football, but kind of correlating that together, Kyler Murray goes number 1. On the negative side, we don't have a defensive player drafted. Clemson, however, has however many 3 or 4 linemen drafted first round. How did the draft with Kyler make you feel? How did the opposite side of the ball make you feel? How did other schools make you feel with the draft?
Well, I mean, obviously, anything OU, I'm pro OU. Even when we talk about the defense, so I say things that I have a problem with, it's from love, because I want to see it better. When you look at the draft, I mean, you have 8 guys drafted. I think it was a tie for 3rd for a school with the most draft. I think it was 10-9 before us. So we're putting out pro players at a high level, but it's on one side of the ball, and that is the issue with the draft. But it's a bigger issue with we've had 4 years of incredible historical offensive productivity, but we just haven't had the defense to support it. And that's not calling anybody out, but I want to say this: this is Division I football. This is OU. Your play can be judged. I'm not talking about anybody's character. Mm-hmm. What you put on tape and what you do on the field, it is up for critique or praise. You decide which one we do. So I'm pro OU. Never, ever misunderstand that. But I'm also going to say what I see. We should have had at least one of those championships if the defense would have stepped up a little bit more.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And be when I played with him. Mm-hmm. The defense was more consistent than the offense was when I played. So it changes. It changes.
I'm with it. Fogel, what's your thoughts?
He said something that in order to get the complete package, that's when your defense and your offense are both clicking. How many times that's happened in history? I mean, even with Alabama, when they were running I formation, 2 tight ends in the game, coming down, downhill, you wouldn't have said that those offenses were prolific. They were consistent, but they were not just putting up 70 points and throwing the ball around. I hold people accountable, and to me, defense is a mentality. It's an attitude. I would say 80% of defense is attitude and mentality. The technique and everything that you do, that comes along with it. Some kids may not be able to drop their hips a certain way, or some kids may not be able to, turn to this shoulder or turn to that shoulder. But guess what? At the end of the day, the one thing that we believed was you are not going to score against us. Mm-hmm. So the lack of me seeing that over the past few years is a little bit disturbing, if I can use that word, because those are kind of things that you sit down and you talk to people about. These aren't things that are coached right there on the field. A lot of these things happen in meeting rooms. They happen when you go into the CAF and you see your assistant coach and he's like, hey, I'm going to get some toughness out you today. I'm gonna get that renegade at you today. Those kind of things, as far as the way you approach it, are as important, if not more important, than the technique and the scheme. I mean, everybody runs certain schemes. I mean, you cover 3, cover 2, cover 1, man to man. That's never changed over the last 100 years. Those things have been the same. But what makes your mentality, as far as how you are when you step on that field, that means a lot more to me.
And I want to add one thing, if I can.
Absolutely.
And everything he said is true. But this is the part we have to get right. Coach Grinch, I had a chance to speak with him briefly. He was generous with his time, gave me and guy we both played with, Malin Wesley. About Mayday, Mayday. Everybody loves Mayday, a.k.a. Skip Hollywood. But he gave us 10 minutes. He was very nice with his time. I just said, Coach, you know more football than I do. I'm just happy you're here, but please tell me we're not going to do read and react. Please tell me we're not going to absorb the blows. We're the hunters. And he was saying, yeah. So I think we have a guy that will bring something. But what we've been talking about thus far is what's already here. What my concern is, who are we bringing here going forward? Player evaluation, development, competitiveness. You know what scared me in college?
What's that? The bench?
It wasn't the other person on the other side of me in the game. It's the bench. The bench is the thing that scared me.
Bench.
And
That's
not that I
right.
thought I was going there, but I started off there. Every day I went to practice, I told Corey, I'm coming for your spot. And every day, for a year and a half, he said, I got you today. I said, that's all right.
Well, you know,
It was
read
back and forth with that.
now read and react works when you read your keys. You know, if I'm sitting there playing inside linebacker, outside linebacker, it depends on what these offensive linemen do with their feet. I'm looking for a certain point to say, okay, if he steps one way, bam, I know this is coming.
Right.
But that's the part.
Now,
I don't see
and
that
then
part.
and then you know why I think
I
you've
don't
not
see that
seen
part.
that is because they're stagnant while they're reading. You got to read and react on the run.
How many true freshmen and true sophomores you seen out there?
Over the last 6-7 years.
So there you go, and then so PJ, and that's where I would ask, you're reading and reacting. We talked about that with Teddy. Is when I saw Teddy, I saw him as a junior. I didn't see him as a freshman or
Right.
sophomore. So I saw the guy that was already a damn team
man.
captain. The
Yeah,
man.
he knew.
The
The
man.
Yeah, he was a man.
I'm coaching junior high. I'm not one of those kids these days type.
Right.
What I am is I am real with these kids. I love them to death. I'm gonna be nice to you as nice as I can, but we don't talk to them the same way, and they don't respond the same way. That's a fact. I don't need to say this coach's name because when it happened, I will just put it to you like this. When you talked about the read and react, it made me think there's a gap right here between our tackle and DN. If most times when I was at OU, even with All-American tackles, our DNs won.
Right.
They won.
Which they should.
If it was a guard and we were trying to double team, it was hard for us to double team that guy. If it didn't get done, PJ, I remember a coach telling one of our players, son, Kelvin, I go home and beat the shit out of my kids so they don't grow up soft like you.
Right.
Wow.
And we just took it just like that, PJ.
Straight no chaser.
Hey, nobody laughing.
No
nobody,
chaser.
nobody, it was more of a different mentality. And I'm not one of those. People asked me the other day why I thought of this. People asked me, and the 04 team was very talented, 03. And our run game coordinator was awesome. But those dudes blocked. Those dudes, you ran power and ISO down the field.
It's a level of acceptability, in my opinion. I've never went into an interview and told anybody that I've interviewed with that I'm going to be like the model father to your kids. I'm going to teach and teach and teach and teach and teach. At some point in time, you have to be held accountable. And my reaction to unaccountability may not be the way that you want it. But let's be real. Every football player, I think, 2% go off to the NFL. Another 2 or 3% go off to play Division I football. You can't walk into a business as a person that works there and expect that boss to come to you when you're not doing your job the way that you want that boss to come to you. So I'm fair, and I use this because, you remember Fair Hayes. I'm fair, but I'm firm.
I like that.
I'm fair, but I'm firm. If I've not taught you to do something, then that's my fault. But if we've repped this and repped this and repped this, and look, you're a junior high, I'm in high school, guess what? The average team runs 3 plays on offense, run-wise, 3 plays pass-wise. If you can figure that out, guess what? You're making them play left-handed. So if we're repping that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, walk through on Thursday, we're showing up Friday night. At some point in time during that week, you've seen 6 plays, and our whole deal is to make you not be effective in those 6. So now if something goes wrong, don't look at my reaction to what's going wrong. Look at the action that you did to cause it to go wrong.
That's real.
And I think that's where there's a disconnect with a lot of younger players now, is because they want you to come to them and express to them why you're upset. that you're not doing your job as a player. Why is that coach upset?
I'm pissed because you got beat twice and you didn't learn what I told you 57,000 times, and I don't want to talk to you right now.
And it's year round almost now. I mean, we got a dead week for 2 weeks right now. But I mean, you know, we've been doing this since Moby Dick was a minnow.
There you go.
And the coach is going to get blamed for it.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So my job and my family is on the line. I'm telling you the right things in most cases. I wanted to clarify the read and react part. I mean, I want us to be the aggressors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Don't catch. Is what don't you know what I'm saying? I want us
Don't
to
be
be
on
able,
skates,
yeah, be able to read and react. but what we have to get back to is, again, this is with love. What is I'm gonna ask you 2 questions. What is the last complete defense we've had?
Whew.
Or if we make it a little simpler.
You talking about for a season?
Yes.
03.
Oh.
Okay, and secondly, let's take it. Let's bring it down a little bit. What's the last complete group, like complete D line, or complete linebackers, or complete secondary? When is the last time we had a complete defense, or when is the last time we've had a entire D line that was nice, right? Like or entire linebacker core, like a complete unit on any of those levels. When
BB was here.
It's a long time ago. It's a long time, and that's not dissing anybody that played in that era. I'm just saying we've had a guy here or a guy. Where is the unit?
Well, that's a great point. Let me get to that. So let's go. Talented players, PJ mentality. You mentioned something, and it's kind of something that Mike Stoops' wife hit on. Actually, is something that she saw is you weren't going to get beat twice. You said that.
Right.
You didn't want to go to the bench.
No.
PJ, I lost to Teddy Lehman every fucking day, but I was going. Shit, I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna be no bitch. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do something right. I gotta try. But that's what taught me how to be a dog. What do we got to do to get those guys?
Absolutely.
Well, I think one, you're going to have to broaden your approach as far as the recruiting process. I think that, especially since I spent 2 years in Houston, HISD, Inner City Houston, does not send anywhere near the amount of kids to Division I schools as they used to when I came out.
I'm so glad you said that, Fogo. And that 2/3 of our team was from Houston, back when we were there.
Right, when I was there, yeah. I mean, you know, and I think that those kids, you know, they always say you got to have 1 or 2 just crazy people. You know what I'm saying? The guy that if you go into a bar and somebody cracks a beer bottle on your head, that dude is jumping from wherever he's sitting and he's fighting, he's swinging, he's not asking any questions. A football team can't be made up of a lot of guys when you get hit across the head with a bottle and they walk up and say, hey, what did he do to you?
Yeah.
You know, did he offend you? Did he step on your shoes?
Everybody.
You've got to understand there's Houston, there's Dallas, there's Kansas City, there's St. Louis. And the last time I looked at the roster, I did not see a lot of inner city kids. I've seen a lot of kids from the outskirts who have parents that pay for this camp and that camp and send them off to this and send them off to that. And I'm not saying that they're coddled and that makes them soft, but at the same time, there's no way I can believe that all the talent in inner city Dallas and all the talent in inner city Houston is gone.
We have vacated Fogle. You know, me and PJ talk about it. Dude, I do research on it. If you look at it, and now the counterpoint to your argument is somewhat Alabama does that. Now I would come back and say that they getting fucking 5 stars when they do that.
Right.
The kid from Hawaii that they got's not a bad player. Right.
Right.
You know,
and there's a hood in Hawaii.
Right. But it goes back to, and you're the there is one.
I was there for the hula bowl. I know.
It goes back to, and you can comment on this, Fogle, and you've been to his games, but is the talent around here? It seems to me that the talent in the trenches is in the Southeast.
Well, I'll give you a great example. The kid that played at Alabama, running back, Tulsa offers a kid, and all of a sudden OU and OSU jump in, and he leaves and does not go to Tulsa. He goes to Alabama, and he's the first pick out of Tulsa McLean. I cannot remember his last name.
Josh Jacobs.
He got drafted.
Yeah, you know, this
Uncle
kid's
Raiders.
living in a truck, you know, living in hotels. You know what I'm saying? And how we don't see this kind of kid and his talent and his ability until it's way too little too late.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of kids that cannot fall through the cracks.
You're right.
When you're at OU.
Now, the counterpoint now, in their defense, Kale's going to say, well, we had Mixon and Samaje committed. So, I mean, you know, but I'm with you. I mean,
They're not doing the
there's gotta
same
be
thing
more.
with quarterbacks.
You're right about
You know
that.
what I'm saying? They're going number one ranked, dual
That's
threat
right.
guy. I mean, there's not a situation where you're saying, okay, from year to year, we're gonna worry about how many good quarterbacks we got on staff.
I want to get you guys.
It'd be good for us to recruit one.
Oh, absolutely.
We've had transfers.
Yes.
4 years.
So we've had a signee,
which is
we've got one
good.
here.
The Heisman winners.
Yeah.
We got to be able to stack on.
And then they've got a new recruit. I actually saw him at camp, Brock Vandegrift, who's a 5-star quarterback coming out. So he's supposed to be a real deal.
Right.
But the other deal I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on, and Teddy Lehman really brought this great point up. And you're a coach now, PJ or Fogan. I thought you'd find this interesting. You know, if we have a team out there, and just say you have one of my 2002 teams, and we're picking players, and you're picking offense and you're picking defense. Yeah, you already know where I'm going with this. Back then you get Andre Woolfolk.
Right.
Back then, you get Derek Strait.
Right.
Back then, you get Teddy Lehman. Compared to, you may have picked Andre Woolfolk as a receiver. Is there a difference, PJ, in the what you saw when you guys played? Put plainly, were the best athletes on defense and better athletes on not better athletes on offense? Was it just the toughness? What do you think?
We had athletes on both sides of the ball. We really did. I mean,
Well, the worser athletes played offense.
no. Everybody knows that's not true. Everybody knows that's not true. Yeah.
I mean, the thing I can say, when I look at that secondary, my second year, I guess, Darius Johnson was a offensive guy at Terrell, Texas. Larry Bush was an offensive guy. He was a quarterback in Ada. I played quarterback my senior year. I never played defense until I got to OU. The only guy that I think I played with in the secondary that didn't play on offense might have been John Anderson. They took the best available athlete. You always hear this stuff when people in the draft
as an athlete.
Just take the athlete.
Yeah.
I think what they did is they took a lot of guys that played offense that were really skilled and said, okay, look, guess what? We're gonna teach these guys how to play defense.
Can you do that now?
Oh, I don't see why you can't.
Yeah, I think so.
Didn't Edelman play? He played.
He's a
same
quarterback.
He was a quarterback, but then he goes to
Quarterback.
receiver, and he's playing really good in the NFL. I think you can still do that. I mean, I think you can get a guy like that.
I think an athlete can play on both sides of the ball.
Well, think about it this way.
A receiver, if you're talented enough to be a receiver, you're talented enough to be a DB. If you're talented enough to be a DB, you probably ain't got as good hands. But you can probably play offense as well. But
Well, think about it this way. If you got a kid at high school on that level that is just that much of an athlete, you want to be successful. So you're going to put the ball in his hands 80% of the time.
Yep.
And he might be more suited to be a linebacker. Tyrell Peters played running back
yeah,
for Norman
State
and comes
champion.
to OU and plays middle linebacker. I mean, you can still do it. It's just the high school coaches got to get by. They still got to eat too. Now, when they tell you,
Right.
you ain't gonna get fired
I
because
played
of wins
running
and
back a little bit
losses.
in high school.
I was just gonna say, talk about that. Talk about what you played in high school. Did people talk to you about defense?
I play defense, I play corner.
In college, though, did they talk? Did anybody offer you for defense? Talk about that.
No, it was offense. I tried to play defense. Somebody heard. I wanted to play corner. I like playing corner too. I was obviously best at wide receiver, but I liked playing corner in high school. It was but I'm competitive. I put him in front of me. Let's see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You may not win every battle. Nobody wins every battle.
Yeah.
I thought it was the
But
next Warren.
But I'm
Moon.
winning most of them.
Yeah. So you thought I was offense? You was offense? Did they recruit you for defense either?
One school recruited me for quarterback. It was Syracuse. I'm glad I did not go there because Donovan McNabb ended up going there a little bit later. I don't know if I'd win that battle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we doing now.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly right. UCLA defense, Michigan receiver, OU defense, A&M receiver. It was kind of a mixed bag. Northwestern wanted me as a running back. Rice wanted me as a DB. Tennessee DB. Texas DB. I mean, I would say 65% of the schools that recruited me wanted me to play defense. The other ones wanted me to play offense, and only one wanted me to run option football at Syracuse, which I'm kind of glad I didn't make that. I committed to them originally, and then I decommitted, but I would have been one and done. I would have been getting that transfer portal.
Yeah.
But what relationships are we building and maintaining in different high schools and
That's a
different
great
places?
question,
That's my question.
Well, and it's free agency now too, so that plays a part in it. In
Right.
my opinion, is
Right.
that we're just shit. You can go anywhere.
And right, and I don't want to speak for both of you, so I'll just speak for myself. I'm not painting a doom and gloom picture. I'm saying we've been in the Final Four. We're an elite football program. but to take that next level to be a champion again. That's the gap I'm at.
You got to be two teams.
Sometimes people hear these conversations. Oh, they just bet. No, we all love the school.
Right.
We went to this school. We love it.
Right.
But we're talking about going to the next level. We're talking when we get to the Final Four. I don't care if we're the favorite or not. We're the guys that first step get to the national championship game. Hopefully win it, but win it at some point. We've done a good job of getting to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Now we have to have the complete team. Most teams are going to be better on one side of the ball. It can't be that dramatic a difference. With the first few games, the opposing team scored in the red zone every time, whether it was a touchdown or field goal.
Man.
That's pathetic.
Man.
That's pathetic. At one point, when we were in the hundreds defensively?
Mm-hmm. We finished pretty low in pass defense.
Right, so if you have an elite offense, if you just got the defense to the 40s, right, just make it a sound defense.
Yeah.
What do we do good on defense?
Well, I'll put it to you this way, PJ, and just you say it all the time. No defense, no rings.
No defense, no rings.
I get it. In the 40s, I don't know that we still go, even if we're there going up against an elite offense like you guys talked about. I mean, that's still having gaps, and I don't like having gaps. I mean, we didn't have any gaps.
I don't like having gaps.
I don't like having gaps.
Y'all were championship teams, championship caliber teams. I'm just saying the offense the last 4 years, and I know that's gone by now.
Right.
But the offense the
amazing.
last 4 years has been good enough that if the defense was at least, to me, aggressively, fundamentally sound.
Well,
just be aggressive and fundamentally sound.
One thing that
tackle in space, know where the ball is.
Here's one thing that you got to think about.
And put pressure on the quarterback.
We were a really good defense during the time that I was there. I mean, we held Nebraska to 13 points in '94, and they were steamrolling people, 70 points, 60 points. Here's the key, and I think nobody's really mentioned this. A lot of your defense comes through the ability to create turnovers. And I believe that's what Grinch is going to do.
Yep.
You have
get
to
off the field on
practice
third down.
Turnovers. Well, even more. Look, Bill Parcells told us one time when I was with the Jets that if you get a turnover at the 50-yard line, it's like 80% that you're going to kick a field goal. Now, granted, that's the NFL, and I think that some kickers are, in college are as good, not as good, but can hit a 40 or 30-yard field goal. If you get a turnover on the 30 going in, you're like 90% for a touchdown.
It's got to be a touchdown.
Okay, so you got to practice stripping. You got to practice. And I know that sounded bad, but you got to practice. You've got to practice forcing fumbles, putting your helmet on the ball. These are things fundamentally that can change the course of a game. Think about it. You start a game against a team like Alabama, and you've got 2 turnovers inside their 30. How does that change the dynamic of that entire game?
Huge.
It's huge if you
probably
do that.
win that game.
Yeah.
You probably win that game.
But we don't have the key turnovers that we used to have. And because the playmakers are not there making those turnovers, it becomes a knockdown drag out. You give a team 80 yards and you're not doing anything, and you just allow them to dink and dunk that ball around, first down here, first down there. Yeah, you're going to get some points scored on you.
So let me ask you this. You're around, you see the players. Are those details? I feel like the old days, I was a prime example of this. Let's look around Oklahoma for a good player. Oh, there's a guy. Let's offer him. So you look around and you build your team, linemen and middle group guys with it. It seems like they're building with bigger linemen, with those type of guys. Have you seen those type of guys around Oklahoma and Texas? Well, you kind of hinted at it at Houston that you hadn't seen them. Do you see them around Oklahoma? If not, what's the answer? And that's where I feel like we're having to go national for.
Yeah, I mean, you see him. I mean, I remember watching Creed Humphreys play. I think he was Shawnee kid. I thought he projected more as a guard. But as far as what footwork he had and the things that he did in the game that I saw, I mean, I didn't see that there would be a hard time transitioning. I just think there's kind of a stigma attached to the state of Oklahoma when it comes to recruiting. And, whether or not you're from here or not, you come onto this staff and everybody's looking California, Texas, Deep South, Georgia, places like that, Florida. So you don't want to be wrong with a kid from Oklahoma if he doesn't turn out as far as getting a 5-star from Louisiana or Texas or Florida. So what you're going to do, because you keep your job probably 60% of the time by who you recruit.
Yeah.
The better you recruit, the less you got to coach.
There it is.
So am I going to take a risk and be wrong on an Oklahoma kid as opposed to saying, okay, here's this Spencer Rattler kid or here's somebody else? that looks the part, and he's playing at a higher level because there's not a lot of elite programs as far as nationally ranked in Oklahoma. So now you say to yourself, okay, it's Jinx and Union and Broken Arrow now, Owasso. Who else is that kid playing against?
Right.
You know, and people ask that all the time.
Yeah.
Who else are you playing that's pretty good at your position or the position opposite of you to where we can get a good evaluation? Well, if you're in Houston or if you're in Dallas, I mean, you're going to play 8 out of your 10 games against somebody that probably is going to go to school.
Man, if you would have tweeted that, I would have retweeted the shit out of that because my recruiting, we played Booker T, and it just took off.
Oh, yeah,
and,
it does everything for you.
Big hit against Quentin Chaney, and then we talked about my recruiting, but A&M wanted me for offense. After that game, I got like 4 offers, PJ. OSU wanted me for linebacker. Bob Stoops saw it, offered me. It was like, shit, I don't even care what position.
Yeah, coach is a different breed.
Absolutely.
You know, so they see as a linebacker.
They ask you all the time, like, you know, you're in there with a coach. He'll ask you straight up, who else is recruiting this kid? If you don't say anybody, they're not going to recruit him.
Yeah.
You know, you might have to lie and say, oh, well, Oklahoma Baptist, they got some real interest. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We
Yeah.
might be able to mess. I can go back to my head coach and I can say at least
Say
he's getting
something.
recruited.
Yeah.
But if you don't say that, nobody's going to touch that.
Jeff thought?
I think that's a great point. I think sometimes we focus too much on where they're from.
Yes.
I don't care where you're from. I really don't care where you're from. Now, when I say that does not mean that you pass up a quality Oklahoma kid to try to say I got a guy from Florida. I don't care where you're from. I care how you play.
Yeah.
How do you translate to the next level? Will you develop? Are you going to take to competition? Are you going to take to coaching? Schools you can be available to play? Like, at the end of the day, we can name a bunch of players from Oklahoma that were great. But you know what we can also do? We can name a bunch of players in OU history that weren't from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It's about bringing in the best players that you possibly can, stacking those classes, and listen, seeing what are guys like in the playoffs? What are guys like in the big games, Booker T,
no doubt.
or Lawton Ike when I was in high school? What do you do against the teams as about as good as you? When you're not just better than somebody, now you got to compete.
I think it's sometimes the path of least resistance. If I've got a stranglehold with a coach that I know and he's in the Dallas area and he's gonna be chiming in with that kid, hey, go to OU, and I got another coach in the Houston area and they're saying the same thing. When I say the path of least resistance, I don't have to work as much. You know, recruiting does this be
But
real?
there's a relationship built.
There's a relationship built
So
with
the
me
question,
and that coach.
right? But that's
Not the
but that's
player
thing.
yet.
Do we have enough relationships built in places that can bring us the defensive players?
Oh, I think you do. I just don't know.
I haven't seen it on the field.
I just don't know.
Have you seen it
on
in the field in OU?
No. The second
I haven't
layer,
seen it.
The second
I haven't
layer
seen
on that is what do you do with those kids once you get them there? You know,
what I'm worried-
that's the key.
What I'm worried about is getting them. We're not getting them.
I think, and Rivals does a good job. I mean, if you trust their rankings, you know, if you see where all the 4 and 5 stars are, I mean, it's deep red. It's red and it's deep south. I mean, the dots are there.
Right.
And it just seems like those kids are staying close to home. I'm with you, PJ. We got to get those. Let's talk about this though. I know I'm going to get a good answer. You guys were great athletes. Talk to me about other sports. Did they help you throughout high school? Do
Absolutely.
you advise kids to play them? Just what are your feelings?
I don't really like the one sport deal. Now, if you're only interested in one, then that's fine.
What did you play?
I played everything. I mean, I played basketball is my favorite sport.
That's why I asked.
My favorite sport. Obviously, football, loved it. Played baseball a little bit. It didn't interest me as much as the other two, but I still got something out of it. My brother plays soccer. He has better footwork than I do. I hope you don't see this, but he has better footwork than I do.
I'm hearing
he
it.
played soccer.
Okay.
So, you know, when you play multiple. Listen, when we were kids, my grandfather was in the military. God rest his soul. He played golf. We went out in Virginia. We went out to putt. We went out to the driving range. They just gave us a wealth of like, try this. If you don't like it, fine, but just try it. So I played golf. I played basketball. I played football. I ran track. My brother played soccer. So we played multiple sports, and footwork in here or hand-eye coordination. You get something from every sport. If you put it together, you're competitive enough, and you work on your craft. Different sports give you different skill sets. Again, Elijah Wan, Houston. His footwork was incredible. He was a soccer player, right? Mm-hmm. So playing different sports can help you in different areas. Now, if you're only interested in one, by all means. But I don't like what it appears to be in certain areas where they're making you just stay with this.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying you got to play 4 sports, but at least do something else.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's just run track. I remember when we was in college, they used to bring the track guys over.
Absolutely.
We loved it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Now put these pads on.
Yeah, that's it.
Now you're going to go back to track
Right.
because you don't want to get hit.
don't wanna.
Right? So, but what that did, though, all it did was it brought competition. Oh, you bringing them because you think they can do something with us? Okay, we're going to really go at it today. And that's all they were trying to do.
That's what's up.
That's all they were trying to do was to bring it out of you in the summer.
That is
when
what's
it was
up.
hot.
Other sports, does it help? Does basketball defense help defenders? Or do you tell your kids play other sports? What you think?
Yeah, if you're a DB, you need to play basketball. By the way, 18.58, 100-meter champ, 1993.
Excuse us. Excuse us. Excuse us.
That's when 5A was the biggest class.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, one, especially when you're in inner cities, eligibility is key.
Huge.
And having a kid go from football to basketball to track or soccer or baseball, whatever the case may be, it alleviates the situation where you're worried about that kid's grades between the end of football season and the next year. So I know this sounds selfish, but I want all my kids to play year round as far as the school year goes, because at that point you've got to stay eligible.
That's right.
And you've got to pass.
That's right.
But also, I mean, I saw a stat, and I think either Saban or Sweeney put this out, that 80-something% of the kids on their teams, like 86 or 87, all played 2 sports.
Yeah.
So the proof is in the pudding on that one. If you're not a multiple sport, and that's another thing, most coaches, when they start recruiting, and I've had recruiter after recruiter come in my office, the question they'll ask me is, what else does he play?
Let's play.
What's
his track times?
Right. If you just threw for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns with 3 interceptions, I'm pretty sure they're not going to ask that question.
Right. We don't need to see that.
But if you're a fringe guy, and a lot of kids don't realize this, there is a U in every city in America. And somebody's going to have to make a decision on the U part. And if they don't like it, they'll go down to Tulsa, they'll go to Booker T. Washington, they'll go up to Kansas City, they'll go to Little Rock, Arkansas. They're going to find a U. So what do you do to bring yourself up to make you separate of the other guys that you're competing with? Because you're not competing with kids just in the state of Oklahoma.
That's right.
You're competing with kids nation around.
That's right.
So,
PJ, you mentioned the '90s workouts. They would bring the track team in. We tell me. We do a lot of talk about the 2000s, but I'm very, very interested. Tell me what the '90s in OU was like. What was the campus like? What music makes you think of college? What was the parties like, dog? Where was the parties going down?
We can't talk about something.
At least just tell me where was they at? Perfect Swing, something,
No, the Union.
Student Union.
the Armory.
The Armory for sure. Yeah. What was the little building by the Huffman? What was the little building behind the Huffman? Cat corner of the Huffman.
Oh, I cannot.
I forgot the name.
The dorms?
No, it was a little small building where we had parties in there too.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was like three specific areas.
What song makes you think of college?
Wow. Wow. Probably Bad Boy and Death Row.
Okay.
It was that era.
Okay.
Who was better and that kind of deal.
Workouts,
and
campus
then Mary
fun.
J was killing it.
Yeah.
On the female side, yeah. Mary J was killing it back then. Real Love, Love No Limit, all that.
She's
Yeah.
amazing.
So yeah, that was the early '90s. It was a fun time. And the thing about it is, it was so much different because Oklahoma City wasn't built up as far as going to have fun really anywhere.
Right. You going to Casanova
spot. The Casanova spot.
I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you said that.
Yes. What do you see if you saw a picture? What would make you think of the campus from the '90s? What visually? If I say, hey, what was campus like in the '90s? What do you see visually?
The first thing I see is when we're getting done with practice, not during the season, off season, and we going over to Walker Tower to play basketball. Barbecues, people cooking out, beautiful women coming by.
Everywhere.
And I remember, I think you were there too, where Arbor Beavers came up with that gold car. I mean, it was gold flakes, white walls. It was a special time.
He was my host, and it was
a special time because when you come to OU, you come as competitors. You
leave as brothers.
You leave as brothers. You become friends, and now you're brothers. And listen, I know them since '93. it's 2019.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This family.
Yeah.
And that's what I always say. OU La Familia.
That's it.
OU the family. That's what it is. Whether we were teammates or even really know each other, we have shared experiences, and it may not be shared titles or shared record, but shared experiences at the University of Oklahoma.
I love it, man.
What were yours? What were mine?
Yeah.
And that's this is a wonderful place to come to. I don't want to sound like a commercial, but it really is. It's I always wanted to go somewhere where it was something bigger than myself, right? So had other opportunities to go places. If I didn't go to you, I was probably gonna go to Ohio State, but I know I made the right choice no matter what the record is because of my experiences here, the people I got to meet, people like Teresa Turner, we both know.
Love her.
Who's better than that? And the coaches that we had, good or bad, I think I've said this before about Gary. I said this before about Gary Gibbs. You can tell me about his record all you want to. All I ask is this. Don't forget he won a championship in the 70s as a starter. Don't forget he was a defensive coordinator during the 80s of the teams you love. And from a personal standpoint, my father died before I graduated from high school.
Yeah.
He used to call me in his office during the first semester, first year, just check on me.
He's bigger than football.
So that means something. It may not mean to anybody else.
Absolutely.
So it means something to me.
Absolutely.
Right? Is he Barry Switzer? Who is? But those things are what I take years later.
Man.
That he cared enough to check on me.
Corey Edmond, strength coach out of Kentucky. I don't care what Kentucky's record is. All I know is him and Mark Hill prayed for me with my mom's passing away.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's different than that. Fogel, 90s. Visual, what song makes you think, OU? Tell me about some workouts, anything.
Well, I love me some Jodeci.
Oh, yeah.
And
Jodeci
I would
was
probably
nice.
say, I
God.
won't deny it. I'm a straight rider.
I was like one of 4 people that was on Bad Boy side. Everybody else was Death Row.
Okay.
I was Bad Boy.
I like Bad Boy too.
That was bad. I was Biggie.
And I would probably say the image is, oh man, probably walking downstairs into the Bud.
Remember that?
I remember people wouldn't come to the Bud because of the stigma.
Oh yeah.
They wouldn't even
Oh,
come
she went to the Bud? Oh,
listen, don't listen.
Damn.
No, you got to come over here.
But that's one of the code phrases. You got to ask her, so you ever been to the Bud? You know
been
any
to the
football
Bud?
players?
Yeah,
Oh, you
yeah.
never
Oh,
been?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, come on, girl.
Oh, you know him?
Oh,
you know the room, too.
Oh, hell no.
That's
no,
all right.
You can't
Like,
go,
That's all right.
If I could find that ping pong table in the Bud, like I literally, if I could find that ping pong table
I know you
in the
did.
Bud, because
Oh,
there was
man.
some fierce ping pong games.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. But I'll tell you what, if the Bud had cameras back
Oh no! I've scaled some glass walls on the outside of that
Oh, my
place
God.
a few
Oh, my
times.
Any funny workouts or any, he talked about the track guys, any competition stuff?
Snellenberger having us climb to the ceiling in the indoor
I
facility.
heard about that.
Yeah, I
He had
never
a
made
rope
it. I
and
never made it.
That really
I heard
happened.
about
It really
that.
happened. I'm scared of
I heard
heights,
about that.
so
I never
it
made it.
bothered me.
I heard y'all used to have to run a mile or something like that during 2-a-days or right before 2-a-days was a conditioning test or something.
I think
like that.
the funniest thing that happened, and I'm like, look, man, it's 100-something kids out here, and we had this running test where we had to go up the spirals, like back when the stadium had the spiral driveways, you can go all the way up, and then you had to come down the steps and then run back up the spirals. So I was like, man, look, I'm not. They're not gonna pay attention to just one guy. So I just sat down and just waited. And I was like, hey, man, how many times you been up? It was like 3. All right, let me go on, get ready to come down. So I come down the steps just trying to look like I'm tired. And I'll never forget this. Joe Jurassic was like, okay, Fogel, that's 2. I said, what?
You know, Joe.
Come on, man. You really telling me that you saw all 100-something kids go up and down this thing 4 or 5 times? So I had to go back and make the test up again. But
You know, Joe and Pete don't miss nothing.
No.
oh, man,
Don't miss anything.
aside from climbing the rope, we had, who was the kid? I cannot remember his name. When they had the pongs that would go into the wall, and this one kid could just climb up, and he was like, "Let me show you how this kid does it."
Right.
I mean, some of the stuff, to me, it was more a test of do you believe in this, as opposed to are you getting better. I mean, it looked like Coach Vagotis one time threw like 16 cones up in the air and just let them drop. And then he was like trying to show us an obstacle course. And every time we ran a drill, when I knew it was something made up, I would just get to the back of the line.
Yeah.
You know, because it's eventually at some point in time, 2 kids just heads colliding. You know, I mean, it looked like somebody we called it the star drill.
Yeah.
Because it looked like he just came in there, got a bag of cones, and just threw them up in there and was like, okay, well, you go around this way, and you go around that way, and you go. And then when he gets to the 3rd cone, you take off.
Make it up as it goes. Yes,
That's awesome.
Yes, I used to think Snellenberger was anti-receiver.
Really?
This is what the drills he had us do.
I love this drill.
It was crazy.
Listen, he had us 20 yards apart.
Oh yeah.
It's like 6 receivers. It's like, what, 14 of y'all?
Yeah, yeah.
14 of them, 6 of us. We're 20 yards apart. We got to run full speed, and they're timing it. So they know if you playing around. Run full speed. But there's 14 of them, 6 of us.
It's a ram
so
drill.
we had to keep coming back around.
A ram drill.
And then we had another one we had to run for about 5 to 10 yards, chop it up. He's coming from the safety position. He's running us 15 yards full speed. But we chopping, and when they blow the whistle, we got to turn. He's coming full speed, and we got to, yeah.
Hey, defense wins.
I know it, yeah.
No defense, no ring.
That's it, right?
So the game, but I will say this, the game was easy.
Yeah.
The blocking in the game was easy.
I never got tired either.
Yeah.
That my junior year, I never got
I was
tired
in good
the
shape,
game.
though. I was in good shape.
Now, we didn't have no water at times. You know.
I used to hide it behind little trees.
Oh, yeah, I used to take Gatorade from Sooner
Hide it
Cigarette.
behind the trees.
Yeah, I'm not one of those kids these days, but dog, there's a different type of toughness and physicality back then. There was no joke. I mean, it was no joke. If you think of my producer Brad Reed does a great job. If you think of a guy with the pegs, we'll put a little picture of him up. So just let me know, and so we won't make you feel bad. I mentioned it earlier. It's been great, but you guys are bright minds, media minds as well. Just had the NBA Finals. Tell me, PJ, what's your thoughts on the NBA Finals and then free agency going forward? You got any predictions of what's going to happen?
It's going to be interesting. Kevin Durant is said that he's supposed to make his decision and announce it tonight. Anthony, obviously, I'm a Laker fan. Been at my whole. See, I'm not.
KD said he's announcing tonight.
That's what everybody's saying. He's supposed to be announcing tonight. I'm a Laker fan from day one. Now, a lot of people coming over because they're LeBron fans and they go wherever he goes. That's fine. Getting Anthony Davis is huge.
It's very big.
It's huge, and when you get Anthony Davis, I think it helps get more players because now you can see past the couple of years LeBron has. Anthony Davis will be here because he's, 26, something like that. So this will help galvanize and kind of bring everything back to the center where it's supposed to be instead of whose fault is it. You got a tremendous player. I think Anthony Davis is a top 5 player in the NBA. LeBron is still top 3, whatever you want to think about if Kevin was healthy and obviously what Kawhi did. So I think that you have the nucleus. Now you have to fill in the ancillary pieces.
Yeah.
Get some shooters, some defenders. So you have to decide, are you going to pay big money and get a third guy and just kind of scrape through with the others, or do you try to go get a Patrick Beverly? Do you try to go get a couple of shooters that can round out the roster? You have your core as far as who's going to do most of the work, but you got to have some guys that can defend, some guys that can hit some outside shots. As far as Toronto, it's all on if Kawhi stays. I mean, Kawhi is a tremendous basketball player, arguably the best two-way player in basketball right now when you take offense and defense, high leverage moments. He's spectacular at that. Now, the question with Kawhi is, if he does leave, is the next team that he goes to, are they going to be smart enough to let him get the time off that he needs? And will they be able to put pieces around him? If he goes to the Clippers, I think he has a team that he can win with. If he stays at Toronto, I think he has a team that can win with, particularly in the East. But if he goes anywhere outside of there, he's going to have to make some decisions on who is he playing with, and will the management and ownership allow me to take the time I need, whether it's mental or whether it's actually physical.
Makes sense. Fogel, NBA
Love the
thoughts.
finals.
Yeah.
Love the finals.
You really?
Oh yeah, man. You know what? I'm a Kawhi Leonard fan, and I don't blame him for some of the stuff that a lot of people did as far as his last year in San Antonio when he
Spurs
doesn't
look
feel
stupid.
that he's right.
you there.
And y'all are all athletes. We know when we are right.
That's right.
And we feel good. No doctor can tell me. I've had high ankle sprains, and they were like, "Hey, come on back. I've got a scar on my hand right now that they told me wasn't a torn ligament in my thumb. Hey, I'm still rolling with it. But I'm gonna keep this closer to home. I'm gonna keep this closer to home.
No, you're not.
Serious?
Because I am a Thunder fan.
Okay, I figured something was gonna happen. What's going on?
I've denounced the Rockets. I grew up there.
You're a traitor.
I grew up there. I've denounced them.
You're a traitor.
And here's what I'm gonna say about the Thunder. Who's the last NBA champion that's had a dominant center?
It gotta be Houston, maybe. What? It's
Dominant
LA?
center?
LA. With Shaq?
Shaq, Robinson.
You going back to the early 2000s with Shaq?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dominant center?
Dominant offensively.
That you run your offense through this guy. You got to trade Steven Adams, man.
Oh,
You got to
yeah.
get some value for him. It was a bad signing. He's not $100 million plus guy. You got to trade him and get some shooting. Look, Toronto did it, and the average person walking around right now couldn't even tell you who Toronto's starting center was.
That's right.
But
The one that came off the bench was better been the one that started.
Right, but a lot of this isn't based off what the novice knows, is what the experts know. So they did a great job of putting pieces around. Listen, Sam Presti to me, and I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Sam Presti to me was the reason that the Oklahoma City Thunder ascended as quickly as they did.
No, I guarantee you.
Drafting Kevin, obviously. But, well, that was easy. Okay, well, put him to the side. You still drafted him. People didn't know as much about Westbrook.
Right.
People didn't know as much about Harden. Nobody knew about Serge. So in the early years, Sam made a bunch of very good decisions. He got a coach who was able to get these guys together, have trust in each other. They grew together. Time ran out on him. They got a new coach. The Thunder the last few years, they're not built right.
Yeah.
Got to trade him.
I'm not a hater as far as finances because it's not my money. But if you're going to pay Steven Adams $100 million, what do you expect to get from him? You don't feature him in the post, right? He's not a shooter. But 2 years ago, he was basically blocking out to make so Russ got triple doubles. I'm not paying $100 million for that.
Make a deal, Sam Presti.
Let's get it.
But okay, so where are the shooters?
And he's the only bargaining piece that you got. You're not going to trade Westbrook. You're not going to trade Paul George. He's the bargaining piece, and you just got to find one team that is willing to take on his salary.
Okay, so
and maybe it's a three-way trade. Maybe it's a three-way deal.
I agree. They need to trade Adams if they can. But do you think trading Adams is going to get them somebody or somebodies that's going to change?
Shoot?
No, that's going to change their hierarchy in the NBA right now, particularly in the Western Conference.
If you get two shooters, yes. If you get two shooters, now they say Redick is not going to leave Philly.
Right, so Adams is going to bring two shooters
with $100 million worth of money. Yeah.
Okay.
Who would take his contract?
Yeah, who? Because you just asked the question, when's the last center?
That's the key. I mean, you overpaid for the guy, and who needs a big man?
Yeah. Well, let's stay on Thunder. Obviously, Golden State had that injury, had Kevin Durant's injury. We don't know what's going to happen then. If you'd asked me 2 months ago, I said, "Hey, well, it looks like Golden State. Well, it looks like Golden State's going to win it, and who knows what's going to happen." Now, Golden State looks like with Clay out, with KD out, who knows? What do you think the Thunder finishes next year, PJ? You obviously said they need shooting. Again, what do you think they finish? Just talk about them going forward.
I just don't trust them in the playoffs. They've had Russ and Paul George, two All NBA players, 2 years in a row. They haven't got out of the first round. They haven't got out of the first round since Kevin left. And they're good enough to get out of the first round. And the one that disappointed me the most was against Utah, because you lost to a team led by a rookie and Russ didn't guard him. So, and then you run it back this year, Paul George was rightfully so in the MVP conversation, even though I'm not an MVP guy because it's narrative-driven in a popularity contest. But he still was in the MVP discussion with Giannis and with your former team, James Harden. So they have talent, but do they have the right basketball players to make big shots in the big moment, play defense? I just see the Oklahoma City Thunder as a athletic team. Because Sam Presti likes athletes. They're an athletic team that they don't know how to close and they don't have shooters. And I don't trust the coach.
I think it comes down to the power twos. Are Russ and Paul better than LeBron and AD?
No.
Are Russ and Paul better if Durant, even if he sits out all year, and Kawhi wants to play with him, and they all go to the Clippers? Are those two better than Kawhi and Durant at full strength? And the answer would be no again. So to me, everybody's at least going to have two. Now, you might not have Clay until March, April, but are Russ and George better than, and now they got three, Draymond, a healthy Clay, and a healthy Steph? And I would say no. Those are the teams that you're going to have to beat if it goes down kind of the way we're thinking. You're going to have to beat those three teams in order to get where you want to get. And right now, unless trade Steven Adams, try to get you a Jimmy Butler.
Like, who you think
you can?
I'm with Trey. If you talk like trading Steven Adams is going to bring you
Beverly,
the players that's going to put you over the hump.
Try to get you somebody, because the Lakers might be in the same situation where you can add that third piece, or you can break it up and start bringing in smaller pieces. You got that option. Try to get as much value as you can for $100+ million guy, and maybe put 3 or 4 pieces around them.
You think he's gonna bring that much?
$7 million, $10 million a year, and maybe you've got a chance. Because right now, if you look at the 2, 2, and 3 that could possibly happen in the West, right now you're not better than them, even with Steven Adams.
Right, but the 2 you're talking about, there's more than just 2 with the Clippers.
Right, there's Draymond there. You still got
With
Livingston.
Oklahoma City, there's not more than 2.
No,
That's their problem. Their problem isn't the 2 best players.
That's why
the problem is filling out the rest of the roster and the head coach.
Make the trade and try to get parts.
Should Giannis have won the MVP?
No.
Harden?
Yeah, again, I'm not an MVP guy, but I think it should have been Harden. I think Paul George had a great case for it because of both sides of the ball, but he got injured down the stretch. Obviously, so the production slowed a little bit. We understand why, but it slowed a little bit. With Giannis, I think the reason Giannis got it is I think it's better for business.
I think he got it mainly because
I think it's better for business.
Harden had an injury on his team.
But in most years, they would have got it for him.
Well, I think people look at the injury and say, okay, well, look, he carried the team, but the injury wasn't at the beginning of the season. Milwaukee pretty much dominated the East from the beginning to the end. And if you're talking about the MVP, that's a season and not a playoff award.
It's a what they want to value award.
Well, yeah, and I think they valued him being in a position where they were pretty much in first place all year, and the Rockets, I think, were 17 and 11 or something.
So what
like
about
that?
the year? What about the year when James could have got it? I think 2 years ago,
Right.
and they said he had too much help.
Yeah, you know.
They pick and choose who they want to give it to.
No, the
Steve
narrative
Nash won it
changes every
twice.
year. The narrative changes every
Steve
year.
Nash won it twice. They shouldn't have won either one of them.
The narrative changes every year. I mean,
yeah.
people might feel like LeBron is, having to do a little bit more work next year, and they might say, you know what, this guy could have probably been an MVP more than, X amount of time, so let's go ahead and give it to him. We feel sorry. Who's the next guy that should get the MVP?
Who do they want to promote too?
Right. Yeah,
So they want to
thing.
promote Giannis because promoting Giannis, it elevates the East because most of the stars are in the West, and if Kawhi goes there, almost the entire starting 5, the entire 5 of the top 6 are in the Western Conference. But also, if you make him the face of the league, or at least try to make him the face of the league, then that opens up the international a little bit more. Yeah. Giannis came over and was successful, so it opens up. So there's always things behind the MVP. I don't begrudge anybody that won it. Salute, because you had to put in some work. But I just think my last example on this is this. Russell Westbrook, the first year when Kevin left, what was the question about the NBA? What is Oklahoma City and what is Russ going to do without Kevin, right? Because they knew Kevin was going to accrue. So Russ got a triple-double. They gave him the MVP that year, right? Did Russ get a triple-double the next year?
Yes.
I think he did.
Did he get a triple-double the year after that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Average
But he didn't get an MVP again because the narrative was, what are you going to do without Kevin?
Right.
After they found out, the narrative was no longer the triple-double, so they went to something else. Yeah. So I'm not devaluing anybody that won a MVP. I'm saying they moved the goalpost to fit who and where they want the focus to be.
I'm wondering who the next guy is then.
Well, my producer is doing a great job of keeping me informed. He's breaking news right now. He sent me a little Twitter screenshot of this breaking news that Kevin Durant and Kyrie expect to sign with Brooklyn Nets. The strong rumor is that Jimmy Butler is supposed to go to the Heat. So sounds like
BK gonna be on
up.
fire.
Hove.
The greatest rapper of all time.
I'm an agent. I'm a owner. I'm a this.
I'm a billionaire.
Oh, I'm a billionaire. Yes.
And they put the B on him this year.
Yeah.
They're billionaire.
So, final thoughts on OU football. Where do you expect OU football to go? What do you think of next year, PJ? How do we end up? Give me that.
Well, I'm excited. Sometimes when you talk about the defense, you talk about some of the deficiencies, they feel like you're down on the team. I'm not down on the team. When I look at the regular season, we're good enough to win every game. So that doesn't mean we're going to, but we're good enough to win every game. I don't see a juggernaut in the regular season. Texas is always going to be a hard game, no matter who's better. It's just a different situation. I think Oklahoma stay healthy, and the defense can get better. You're not going to be great, but if you can get better, I think you can go 10-1.
I like it. Fogle, thoughts, OU football?
I think OU will go to the playoff and actually win a playoff game, and here's kind of why. When you have a kid at quarterback that looks like a linebacker,
Yeah. No
and
joke.
can put you in a situation where you can run the ball and run clock. I mean, we give the defense a lot of grief, but at the same time, if you're scoring in 19 seconds, or you're scoring in 25 seconds, that becomes Texas Tech 2.0.
Yep.
You get very tired out there if you cannot get a turnover and you cannot put yourself in a situation where you get a 3 and out. So I think with a guy like Hurts, you don't have to be as up tempo, and if he can use his legs and punish people on the ground, I think when you get into a situation where you're playing a playoff game, that can put you over the top. So I think that they will crack the not winning a playoff game barrier and actually be in a national championship game this year.
I really hope so, but we have 4 really good linemen that aren't here anymore. Now, I'm not saying that they're not stacked under that, but that O-line is one of the best I've ever seen at OU.
No doubt.
They were tremendous collectively, great chemistry. You know, O-line got to have probably the best symmetry of any group.
Get the ball out your hands quick.
Right. So, you know, I think Oklahoma's going to be really good this year. How Hurts throws the ball, and I want him to run. You need to use that aspect of his game, his size, but I just wanted to be smart on when to take that blow to score or when to take that blow to get a needed first down. And big boy, sometimes you got to get out of bounds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody knows you're tough. Everybody knows you're not scared. Sometimes you got to get out of bounds so you don't take unnecessary hits so that you're healthy for the season to go along.
This has been awesome again, man. We're going to go to Twitter questions, so we got 4 questions.
Let's do it.
PJ at Nathan_McCullum wants
What's
to
up,
know,
Nathan?
Yeah, did you have to call Fogel Fog Dog or Mr. Fog Dog? Or is that Fog Dog?
I call him Fogel Anthony.
You know what he called me? He called me Attica.
Is that what he's got?
Never.
There was a HBO. Was it HBO on HBO?
Listen.
A little show
listen.
that, you know, when you come
Barbecue
out
chicken.
for one-on-ones, you know,
Hey, get this.
lockdown.
Barbecue chicken.
Okay.
Barbecue chicken.
Attica. We talk about that. Nick, any other nickname, funny stories, or a nickname for you? Had the Fog Dog come up?
Man,
I'm going to tell you my nigga.
I think Fog Dog came up when I was playing arena ball, and a guy named Ron Lopez was a quarterback, started calling me
Ron.
Fog Dog. And I mean, I was jock man, and I would always just come out the shower with a jock on and just run around the
Hilarious.
yeah,
Locker rooms.
yeah,
Wait a
man,
minute.
it was good times,
You
man.
gotta know.
I'd run through the offensive meeting just in my jock, man. Like, this dude is crazy.
I
man.
never saw you walk in no meeting I was in.
No, it was in arena football.
Oh, okay. I say, nah.
Nickname. What was you gonna say?
I took a nickname. Okay, my nickname was, the coolest rapper ever. I'm not saying he's the best, but the coolest rapper ever to me is Big Daddy Kane.
Okay.
Kane was the coolest person ever. So I took Dark Gable because of something he said in a song, Dark Gable.
What about the Four Horsemen?
That was me, T.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Robert and
They just had their own little
and
clique.
yeah,
like,
the Four Horsemen.
The Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
We didn't have too many nicknames there, too many funny stories, but you know, Bubba Moses, that was always a good one. Everybody loved saying Bubba, you know, that was my boy. But at TKinCannon21 wants to know what was life like for each of you before Sooner football? How has the OU family changed your lives? P.S. We need to bring back those throwback jerseys with the red stripes on the sleeves.
You're gonna go first.
Yeah, before OU, I mean, it was just trying to find a place where you felt comfortable. And for me, coming up on my visit, and like Aubrey Beavers was my host, me and Gerald Moore drove up in a 1980 Toyota Celica that I bought this car. I was working at Budweiser. They got me a job down at Budweiser. I was a merchandiser, and I was making more money than I've seen in my life. And it wasn't a lot of money, but I blew all my money. And I ended up seriously. I can't
Before
make
you
this
came.
up. Oh, before I came.
Oh, gotcha.
And my mom was like, "Look, you know, you say you want a car, so you're gonna have to go find a car." I had $250, and I bought a prime gray Toyota Celica 1980. And I went to 3rd Ward from my house and picked up Gerald Moore, and his mom looked at me like, "There's no way this car is getting from Houston to Oklahoma." And the week before, we were at a club, and whoever owned the car was a wanted fugitive for murder.
H-Town, baby.
Oh yeah.
H-Town all day.
I can't make stuff like this up.
H-Town all day.
I thought I was getting shot or going to jail. You know, and we were out in front of a place called Foxy's. I'm not even gonna say what Foxy's was.
I could guess. Some foxy people in there.
Yeah, it was some foxy people. And when we get in the car, there's a police car behind
That's his
us.
third reference.
Just sitting in the.
That's his third reference.
Yeah, and he's just sitting there, and all of a sudden we crank the car up. The dude just like cuts his lights on, and he pulled us over. So we leave up to Oklahoma in this car. It was a stick shift, and 5th gear wouldn't stay in gear.
So you had to ride forth?
No, but you had to hold it. Oh shit! So I'm driving and we got to maybe Centerville, Texas, and I'm driving and my arm starts getting tired. I can't make this
What was
up.
J-Mo doing?
He had to hold it in fifth. After that, I'm like, man, come on now.
So you driving, he holding it.
Yeah, and the AC didn't work.
I'm gonna call Gerald tonight.
And
I'm gonna call Gerald tonight.
The manifold gas would come through the AC. So he started like crying like once we got off past 16 on the north side. And I was like, man, you crying because you leaving home? And he was like, nah, I'm not crying, man. Something's coming out of your AC vents is like choking me. It's killing me, man. So we ended up making it. But the last thing that happened, we're driving up to the Bud. I can't make this up. We're driving to the Bud. And we had to fix the manifold. We had to fix the muffler all the way up there. It took us 13 hours on a 6.5 hour drive. And when we pulled into the Bud, the brakes went out. And we drove up into the bushes where you park at the Bud. Wow. And I sold the car for $50.
Y'all should have parked and thanked the Lord right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I sold that car for $50.
That is awesome. At K.A. Caliendo wants to know.
You fool.
At K.A. Caliendo, 1995 OU Texas. Huge game. A lot of people remember that it was a tie, but I don't know how many remember that OU was down 21 early and scored the only points in the second half. What are your biggest memories of that one, and what were the biggest keys to get back into that game?
We never gave up. We know how important that game was. Obviously, we didn't win enough of them, but that's my favorite game. Just the environment, half and half, and this was my last time playing in my favorite game. I was never, wasn't in a national championship competition, so it meant a lot to me. I got my first touchdown in Texas. This is my last time, playing in the Cotton Bowl, and a tie didn't feel good.
Right.
It didn't feel good, and Snellenberger, I think I told you this before, he gave us a medal. I don't know what that thing is. Well, I know you get a medal for a tie. We don't, you don't get credit for a tie, but it was special because that's the last time you're gonna walk down the ramp as a player. Last time you're gonna walk up the ramp as a player. So it was special. I mean, your last year, like your first 2 years, you got time, but like when you get to the back end of your junior year, when you get to your senior, you start thinking, okay, what am I doing with my life if this doesn't work? You know what I mean?
Those questions.
So, those questions come up. And speaking of bowl game, I want to tell you about a thing that was crazy. This is probably the wildest thing that ever happened. But we were about to play in Arizona. What was the bowl game?
No, that was.
We were playing BYU.
Yeah, that would have been not the Sun Bowl, but the Sun Bowl.
Copper Bowl?
Copper Bowl.
We were playing the Copper Bowl.
The Copper Bowl.
We're in the Copper Bowl, right? So
I try not to remember that one.
yeah, we were in the Copper Bowl, and Garrett got sick.
Mm-hmm.
T. Brown was a quarterback, and a good quarterback, but he'd been playing wide receiver for a year and a half.
Oh, man.
So he hadn't even been playing quarterback. They throw him in when Garrett got the spiral meningitis. So it's not Terrence's fault. He'd been playing a year and a half as a receiver. Now you just switch him over to quarterback because what happened. Okay, so, but what happened before the game, I asked could I go home, back to Virginia. So I went to Virginia, in between the bowl game. School is out for the session, and the bowl game hasn't started. So I go back to Virginia, having fun.
Right.
We having fun, so check this out.
I don't know what they call it in Virginia.
This is balling. So I go back and I'm at my godbrother's house. It's an apartment complex. And we sitting there playing. They playing the game. I play games a little bit, but I ain't really play games. I listen to music. I was the music guy. I'm always the music guy. So I'm playing music, they playing. It's a knock on the door, right? So I'm sitting like this. The TV's here, but the front door is there. And you remember you had the carpet, but the old, the little walkway deal, you kind of walk on it, you can hear it. Mm-hmm. So they open the door, and as soon as the door opens, a gun comes through it. Ooh. Like that. And I'm like, yo, what's up? They come in. They got masks on. It's all a true story. This ain't no tough guy stuff, because I ain't doing nothing heroic in it. Ain't no tough guy stuff. So they come in, they're like, where the safe?
Yeah.
This is before the Copper Bowl. Where's the safe? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. It was like 3 of us there. Now, my godbrother wasn't there. He was at work. So they're like, where the safe? We're like, I don't know what you're talking about. So they take us in the kitchen, put us down, face down. One of them got a gun in our head. Other 2 go upstairs looking for it. They can't find it, right? So we like, man, this ain't good. I'm like, is this how I'm going out? You know what I mean? You know, praying, you know, stuff you remember. It's just crazy. And so they come back downstairs and they get us up. And then they take us in the little, you know, the little bathroom, just a little hallway bathroom. They put us in there. Now, we in there talking to each other, and you had a mat. When you walk over the little mat, the beaded mat, you can hear the people walking. So we like, yo, if they open the door, we got to rush them. You can't just sit here, right? It's the only thing I can think. We just got to rush them. So I got a watch on. I'm like, oh, he's supposed to get up, but he don't know. He don't know that they're here. So he come in, what's the first thing they gonna, you know what I mean? So I'm like, now I'm more worried about him coming in, because we stuck in this little bathroom, 3 of us, but they ain't done nothing to us yet. But if he come in, that could trigger something. So now I'm getting scared for him. So, you know, goes on, I don't really hear anything. And I don't hear anything. I said, man, I don't know if they still here or not. I said, but let's just chill. If they open the door, or if we hear the front door, we gotta come out. So he opened the door, yo, where everybody at? We just bust out. They were already gone. They stole a couple things from the place or whatever. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, you know, when I left, I'm like, man, let me go home right quick. We're gonna go to this bowl game, we're gonna win. And then when he comes in, we tell him what happened. He's like, what happened? And then, you know, so we sitting there, and when I got to the bowl game, I was like, when I was flying back, I was like, yeah, this bowl game is important, but Playboy, you lucky to be alive.
Straight up.
You lucky to be alive. So sometimes, whether you win or lose, it matters. Trust
Absolutely.
me. Winning and losing matters. Your record matters. Winning, performing matters. But sometimes you got to just thank the Lord for what you actually do have and the time He allows you. So, you know, I ain't trying to take the mood down too much, but it just made me appreciate the little things even more.
Right. Absolutely.
So
at G Lynch 77 wants to know biggest play each of you made, game it happened in. Can you remember the players involved, and did it sway the outcome?
Wow. I would say there was a hit that I had in Stillwater against a running back named Richardson. It was kind of back and forth, and
Which team?
Oklahoma State.
Okay.
And they ran this screen on me, and I mean, I got mopped up the series before that. And Coach Hayes, he got on me.
Fair
we were in
Hayes.
8 sky, and I was supposed to be a flat-foot defender. And when I saw that tackle and that guard come, I was supposed to beat him to the point. And they attempted to run that play again. And it was one of those same foot, same shoulders. That perfect hit where you don't even feel like you're fazed by the hit. And, I mean, everybody in that crowd, and we were in Stillwater. That's when they were wearing the black uniforms. They started going, ooh. And I think that the momentum from that hit kind of sparked us up defensively to say, hey, look, we're going to do this. I mean, other than that, you know, man. Yeah, that would probably be that one moment. I mean, and probably the fumble against Texas. And then going back to that Texas question, you play that damn music all week long and you're hearing the Eyes of Texas stuff. I mean, it gets you to the point where it's easy to forget something bad happening because you're being told consistently that you're better than them. And I think that they do that. I don't know if they still do that now, but hearing that Eyes of Texas.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
It's
just
annoying.
the entire practice, man.
It's annoying, man.
We bring out
It's
tall,
annoying.
the big 4x4 almost speakers, and they just mimic all the cowbell sound. I mean, they do all that. Yeah,
That's brutal.
So yeah, favorite play? Not favorite play, but you heard the question. So, most memorable play you made, changed the outcome.
Well, I was gonna say my first touchdown against Texas, but I didn't change the outcome. We lost. Probably the one is when I went 90 against Iowa State.
I was thinking Syracuse.
He talked about that one last time.
Yeah, I talked about that last time.
Yeah, so,
yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to definitely show that one. Tell about what happened. What happened 90 against Iowa State?
Well, I mean, it ended up, and I didn't know at the time, ended up being the second longest receiving touchdown in OU history. But it was a crucial play in the game. They were pretty good. So Eric Moore threw it. I saw him a couple of weeks ago. It was good to see him. But he threw a beautiful pass, and I was able to go 90.
Yeah.
So that's the one that I remember the most.
Yeah.
When you were talking about that.
Well, again, man, thank you to my producer and you guys, man. Even though it was only a 10-year gap, I mean, and it may not have went the way you guys went. You guys really did. You absorbed a lot. You set the stage for me for a lot of guys, man. And even though I wasn't the biggest OU fan, you guys kept it interesting enough to, and I mentioned my uncle Mike Gaddis. Just having just people that I knew down there, man. Right. Having people to look up to. You guys really meant a lot, and you still do, man. I really, we talk all the time. Fogel calls me. If it ain't Fogel calling me, it's PJ, and if
all
it ain't
time.
PJ, it's Fogel.
All the time.
But man, I just appreciate you guys taking me under your wing, everything, and couldn't thank you enough.
So you're familiar, like I say, and what I want to say is I talked earlier about what coaches in general, and obviously parents and family comes first, but sticking with the sports part of it, what coaches do is so needed, and I talked about earlier. But there's another group of people that are needed too, and I call them culture investors. They invest in the culture. And to me, that's what I think you're doing right now. And I hope it comes across the way I mean it.
Yeah, for sure.
You are a culture investor. Like Dame Dash is culture vulture.
Yeah. Right.
No, you're a culture
it's
investor.
It's $1 million. It don't matter when we play.
But it's not just OU people. Like, you give back to anybody that wants to do better or wants to learn something. The gym that you had.
Yeah, you're right.
Speaking here and there, going to different places. Not just speaking for OU, but just trying to help kids to let them know, listen, like I said before, I'm from an area where they get it.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it was special.
Yeah. No, I think about this quote all the time, and I appreciate what you said about a lot of the kids, but man, there was something on my Facebook page that, and you're on there, Fogel, and I appreciate you being on there, man. But it was Jimbo Elrod, rest in peace.
Yes,
but he
absolutely.
said, "I'm glad to see that you young guys are." He read our Facebook page and just saw us in there bullshitting and reconnecting, and we gonna be at the game when you. And he said, "I'm glad to see you young guys keeping the bond between you and your teammates and your school that reaches all the way back to the early 1900s." This was after Boxing Everidge passed away.
Yeah.
He said, "I hurt for the recent losses of Austin Box and Brandon Everidge because I'm a Sooner and always will be. I lost players like Ross Schote, David Overstreet, Jack Mildred, Sammy Jack Clappin, and the list goes on. And these guys and many, many more are your brothers too, and that's why we're all different. That crimson red patches us all together."
Yeah. Mike Rose.
It was, man. It was
Mike Rose for us.
It's hard. You said it, PJ. You come in as these dudes. You've been in the bud. You come in as these wide-eyed. I don't know you. I heard about you, but are you real? And I'm gonna take you. You ain't gonna start over me. And you leave as this dude. You know my family. You knew this. You knew. Remember that time? Remember we almost got killed. We almost died.
Yeah,
You
right.
almost killed me. I almost killed you. Yeah.
Then there's the stuff you can't talk about,
So
like the wrestling deal.
But whatever we think of, that we
fight
don't
in
talk
Yorkshire.
about. Oh God, yes, I was gonna say there's a legendary water balloon fight.
No.
We talking about before that.
We can't even bring up.
That was a little more
Yorkshire.
serious.
We can't even bring up Yorkshire.
That one was a little more serious.
From what I've heard, they need to just go ahead and bronze that place and just not let anybody.
That is hollow ground. Look,
Yeah.
Yorkshire was
that's like
tough.
poltergeist, man. You cannot build. And there's another apartment complex on the Yorkshire property. The ghost of the Yorkshire is like poltergeist. It will come up from the ground, man. That place is gonna be haunted.
That is awesome.
Hey, and the car switching that happened
Oh yeah.
in the Yorkshire.
No, girl, I'm at home. Yeah. No, I'm just chilling.
Listen, you call somebody over to make sure they see that your car.
absolutely.
I loan my car out.
Yeah, I'm going to say
Just because you saw my car don't mean it was me.
I'm going to say Jones. I'll be right back.
That's it.
Show up the next morning.
Man, hey, this was awesome. We gonna have to. I'm gonna go ahead and book Brad Reed here before long. We'll have to do a part 3, fam. If we can't
Let's
do it without
man.
you, fam. So
Let's do it.
Love you guys, man. Thank you so much, Brad Reed. Thank you.
And I
It's
also
gonna
want
be
to say one
another-
last thing.
go
One
ahead.
last thing. Thank you to the OU fans.
Yes.
Much love.
Like we got.
That's why we do it.
We got dope fans,
That's why we
man,
do
that care about what happens with this program, and that sustains a lot of. Yes, what's on the field dictates a lot of other things.
And
but,
they care about the guys that have played.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and when you don't play no more, but they see you somewhere, they still show you a lot of respect, and it's just we got great fans out there.
My
Really do.
son wants to interrupt. Go ahead, James.
You ready? You
wanna
gotta say
do
it loud.
Go ahead. You want to do it?
Go Raiders!
We're out of here. Fullback you. Thank you.
I love it.